Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Media Boat Podcast. You're just giving me the finger, aren't you?
I lost my focus and trying to get it back.
Well, I'll try to get my focus here because we are here to bring you the latest that we can in movies, TV, music, and video games, not necessarily in that order. My name is Mike. His name is Matt.
My name is Matt. His name is Mike. Contrary to what I said on my the show stream, I don't know if you watched the very beginning of that, but no. What was it? The show stream or was one of the March Madness videos? I accidentally said I was you.
Well, also in the March Madness video, when you talked about Parasite, you kept referring to Spotlight 5 times before you finally got it right.
Sorry, it's hard. Anyways,
Anyways, this is not the
welcome to the
March
Media Boat
Madness stream. This is a
Podcast.
regular
Yes.
stream.
In the meantime, yes, this is a normal podcast. This is March the 31st, 2024. This is episode 429. And yeah.
Yep, it is both Easter Sunday and end of the month. So that means the madness that is March is no longer here. Or at least it won't be here after this.
It's the final day of March Madness. So if you want to stay mad, be today. Also, happy Easter Sunday for those who celebrate. That is today. As you can see, Mike is wearing his Sunday vest. Or his Easter Sunday vest, I guess. I don't know. You're wearing a polo.
It's a lavender haze.
The lavender haze. All right. Let's get rolling right into it because we have some stuff to talk about with music specifically this week.
Yes, so let's get right into it. And while Matt fixes his camera, we're going to start with the music section. We'll start the music section with the Billboard.
Automatic.
We start the Billboard with the Hot 100. And the hottest song in the land is not Beyoncé. Because that's going to be next week.
Yeah.
But for now, until Beyoncé starts ruling the charts, we have at number 1, Lose Control by Teddy Swims. At 2, Beautiful Things by Benson Boone. Coming in at 3, We Can't Be Friends by Ariana Grande. At 4, Love It On Me by Jack Harlow. And rounding out your top 5, Carnival by Kanye West and Ty Dolla $ign. But really, it's because it's featuring Rich the Kid and Playboy Cardi. As for your albums chart, you have Billboard 200. That's just flipping around here.
Sorry, I did a full cartwheel just now.
At number 1, Eternal Sunshine by Ariana Grande. The last time it will be at number 1 spot. Going at 2, Deeper Well by Casey Musgraves. At 3, One Thing at a Time by Morgan Wallen. Coming in at 4 and still hanging around at 4, Everything I Thought It Was by Justin Timberlake. And rounding out your top 5, Stick Season by Noah Kahan.
Yes.
If you didn't like any of those albums, or if you like that Matt's now in focus, we have new releases. Starting with Found Heaven, in all caps, by Conan the Grey. Wait, no, there's no the other. Yeah. Just Conan Gray.
He didn't used to be Conan the White, or will become Conan the White.
He'll become Conan the White.
He's just
after Conan he fights the Balrog, after he found heaven.
Nerd.
We also have Late Slap by Dana Kavansky.
That's the sequel to ABC's The Slap. No, it's not.
Ooh.
You forgot about The Slap, didn't you?
Yes.
We talk about The Slap a lot here. We think it's a funny thing to reference. So
The Slap. Do you reference it with The Cape?
Oh, The Cape. I forgot about The Cape.
Yeah. That was must-see TV.
Was it though? Was it must-see
TV? We also have Package Part 2 by Gustav. So if this arrives before Package Part 1, you know to contact your UPS office.
Exactly.
There's also Alla Sala by Kruin Bin. How do you say this?
That's probably right.
If you know how to say Kruin Bin and know what I'm talking about, message us at beatbookpodcast@gmail.com. Yeah. There's also The Sunset Violent by Mount Kimby. American Primitive by Old 97s. Wait, is that right?
Yeah.
Yes. I'm missing a split here then, because there's also
Oh,
Revelator by Phosphorescent.
mm-hmm.
Only God Was Above Us by Vampire Weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that Vampire Weekend.
Yeah, they're back.
But also back is the Ohio Players.
No.
No, the.
No.
Okay, so just Ohio Players by the Black Keys.
Yeah, I was gonna say 2 bands that you've heard, that I actually heard of, are on the bottom of this list here.
Yeah, those bands.
Those bands.
All right, let's get into some Beyoncé news. But before we do that,
no, not yet.
We got to talk about a little Diddy here.
I mean, it's the biggest news this week. Unfortunately, it's not pretty. But it looks
It's
like
not pretty, but
no.
it's Diddy.
Yeah,
and it's
might.
not pretty for Diddy to be.
Basically, the bottom line here is that seems like Diddy is reaping after sowing for so many years, and he's finally becoming someone who we'll hopefully never have to think about again.
That's because properties owned by Sean Diddy Combs, the ones located in Miami and Los Angeles, were raided by Homeland Security on Monday afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
NBC News cited an unnamed source as saying that 3 women and a man have been interviewed by federal officials in Manhattan, and 3 other interviews are scheduled in relation to allegations of sex trafficking, sexual assault, and the solicitation and distribution of illegal narcotics and firearms. However, it remains unconfirmed whether Combs himself is the focus of the investigation, although multiple sexual misconduct claims have been levied against him in recent months. The raids were first reported by Fox 11 News. In a statement, Homeland Security investigations confirmed, quote, Homeland Security investigations, New York executive of New York, Homeland HSI of New York. That's what I was trying to get to. Executed law enforcement actions as part of an ongoing investigation with assistance from HSI Los Angeles and HSI Miami, as well as our local law enforcement partners. End quote. Now, it is, gotta say this, it's unclear at the time whether Sean Diddy Combs' New York properties were a part of this raid, as the allegations stemmed from that Manhattan office.
Yeah. So, yeah, again, all this is alleged, but it does parallel the claims that have been previously made by people involved in cases, with existing cases on the record of sexual assault cases against Sean Diddy Combs, and it correlates with some stuff that these victims have claimed, which is that this was part of a larger operation, that there were several women involved, that there was sex trafficking happening. And so the fact that now the investigation is taking this kind of approach does add credence to that claim, and does kind of, again, like I said, correlate with what we've already heard. So we're not, I think that like we're closer than ever to having some sort of like finality to all this mess, to have like real proof of what exactly he was involved in and in what capacity being the key word here, because this is not just as simple as, oh, he mistreated one person. This is way bigger than that potentially, and this is potential proof of that. But we'll let the investigation continue, we'll let the cards fall, and we'll see kind of where it ends up, but it's not looking great for Diddy.
Nope. I mean, anytime you get raided by the Homeland Security office, it's never a good sign, and I hope they don't come raid us anytime soon. We did not do anything wrong.
Why would you even put that in the air? What are we doing that Homeland Security would have a problem with?
Nothing. That's what I'm saying. There's nothing that they would have a problem with us.
What, your mustache?
If they are listening to us, one, thank you for the listens, but two, we are in the clear here.
Your "Don't
I'm
raid
not
me Homeland
buying
Security"
anything
shirt
from
is
that.
answering a lot of making me ask a lot of questions about your Homeland Security shirt. Anyways, all right, let's move on.
Anyways, yeah, we listened to an album. But before we get there, I listened to an album. I listened to the total of an
Yes,
album,
you
the
did the
entire
math.
sum of an album.
You did the math. Yes.
Yeah, I went to heaven and I went to hell and back.
Yeah.
Heaven and hell. I did the math. I'm talking about Heaven Cross Hell by Sum 41.
Mm-hmm.
I listened to it and it really was a trip to heaven and hell because this thing took me back 20 years. 20 years? Yes, 20 years to 2004. And I was like, oh my God, this is the sound. This is the sound that I've been missing that has like gone away. And yet here it is. So if you want a nostalgia kick, and I'm talking like the early 2000s, kind of like emo punk, speaking of Vampire Weekend and Black Keys, but probably more like Good Charlotte,
Yeah.
Sum 41, Green Day, American Idiot, all that like hard rock, Linkin Park, early Foo Fighters too, like all that like hard like punk rock, alt rock.
Mm-hmm.
Sum 41 just delivers it right here in the what's essentially a double album. And I, one for one, couldn't be happier with it. It's definitely a huge nostalgia kick. I'm like, oh my God, this is like honey to my ears right now. It was, I don't understand if that was that good or just like, I miss this sound. Oh, nostalgia just dripping in me. But I really liked it. But then again, that just might be the nostalgia in me just saying, hey, you liked all this kind of music at one point. Do you
So
still like it? And I was like, yeah, I still like it.
So is this Sum 41 making an album that sounds like 2004 Sum 41? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like they just took it out from 20 years. Just boop, here you go.
Like no time has passed.
No time has passed.
Wow.
Blink-182
Okay.
is also a good one in there too. Just those hard drum beats, the hard guitars, the lyrics of just like emotional distress.
So it's interesting. You're talking about this a little bit more glowing than you did about that new Blink-182 or the Green Day record. So it makes me ask, what's different here? This is another like nostalgia play from a pop punk band from the 2000s. Why is this different for you? Why is this hitting in a way that those didn't? Do you just like Sum 41 more?
Surprisingly, no. And I think that might be why, because I don't like Sum
No,
41
you didn't
that
like.
much
Okay.
to where I followed much of the career of, like you said, Blink-182, and then they put it out. So I've been listening to those albums, and here it's just the Sum 41 album that I haven't listened to their discography. It's just me getting back into it.
So do you think it's better?
Um, I'm not. I would say it's better because it sounds the same. It doesn't sound aged. I think that might be my huge issue with like the Blink-182 albums is that they sound like they've aged themselves. And here it doesn't sound that way. It sounds like a blast from the past, like a Fall Out Boy album. Like
so Sum 41 guy, which apologies, I don't know what his name is, doesn't sound
Mr.
as
41.
old as Mr. 41. That's
Yes.
his father. So you're saying he just doesn't sound like a 50-year-old man as much as Tom DeLonge does.
Yeah.
Okay. That's good.
Yeah. And like the production of it, the rhythm, the sound, it doesn't sound like it's dated either, too. I mean, yes, it is dated because it's 20 years post sound, but
yeah, I'm very confused, but I'll take your word for it. I mean, if you say that it sounds modern but also exactly like 2004, then
yeah, I get what you're saying. Is like we were talking about the same band. I'm like, I don't have the same glowing review of like, hey,
sure,
like they seem old. They're still talking about this stuff, but that's also their shtick. And then here, I'm like, they are old. They're still talking about the same stuff, but that's their stick. But at the same
But it
time,
works.
it works, especially I
You
think in
know,
his and then their vocal range, in their caliber, rather than
sometimes
Blink 182, who just they just sound older.
I think, just sometimes something works and sometimes it doesn't, and you don't necessarily have the logic to set that up or support it. So you know what? Sure, you're allowed you're allowed to enjoy this. It's just
It might not,
fascinating. It's like
yeah, it might not end up on my end of the year list, but it's just fascinating that like it like immediately like hit all the nostalgia nerves in my head. It's
sure,
like, oh, I loved all this at one point.
if it works, it works.
Yeah.
All right,
All
so
right.
some 41. However,
Let's talk about
something else
something
we
that
need to
does
get to.
work.
Yeah. Okay.
Something that went to
So
work.
yeah, there's a lot of work. A lot of work went into this, I would say. That's
Yes.
the best way to put it. So in the last few weeks, we've been running up into this. We've been hyping it up. Beyonce is officially back. She has donned a
I mean,
country
not that
cowboy
she
hat.
ever left.
Yeah, not that she really went away that long. But yeah, she has a cowboy hat on, Carter. She's riding a horse, which you need to look at. On the cover of this album, she is
Yes.
brandishing the American flag. What does all of this mean? What is Cowboy Carter? And did you like it?
I like that horse. That horse is amazing.
Please stop there.
I
Please.
will I will definitely stop there because
I don't need
we
to hear.
need to talk about Beyonce and
Yes.
Beyonce's hands, her sound, her
Hands.
influences.
Her hands.
Yeah. She's getting in there with her hands and producing it with her husband.
Sure.
Um, is all over this.
Uh-huh.
It's definitely a country album.
Is it
Although
though?
there are
I
some
might
songs in the
Yeah, I
back
might
that
push back on that a little bit, but letting you go first. I want to see where your mind is.
yeah, it starts off real strong in that whole country song vein. And then there's a couple songs in the back that make you question, wait, did I switch over to Renaissance? Did I switch over to a different album? I was
Uh-huh.
like, no, okay. Because it went right back to the country song and styles. Um, definitely an interesting take on Jolene.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say this album is about 10 songs too long for me.
10 songs.
Yeah. About the 50-minute mark, I was like,
Mm.
how much longer is this? Because I feel like
I
this could
mean,
have ended.
to be fair, we also had that thought, but also we were listening to it when it first came out. So it was like past 10 o'clock and we were like, we want to go to bed.
Right.
So our maybe reaction was a little different, was colored maybe by the time it was. But okay, so follow-up questions to what you just said. Okay, so there is currently a debate over the Jolene cover question mark. What are your feelings about Beyonce's Jolene?
It's her take, it's her rendition. I never expected it to be a one for one, just a straight
Right.
cover, because
I don't
that's
think
just
anybody
not what
did.
Beyonce does.
Right.
So I kind of felt hurt by it, actually. Not in a bad hurt, but in a, oh, she's gonna come after me if I do anything with her man. Kind of like what the purpose of the Jolene song is.
I mean, yeah, it's I think it's built to be intimidating. She is trying to intimidate.
She's trying to
Um
intimidate Jolene, and she definitely comes across in this.
So yeah, the reason why I ask is because the current discussion seems to be people who are like hold the original as this like cannot touch it classic, like cannot
The
be
pedestal,
altered
yeah.
in any form, are freaking out because they're like, well, this is disrespectful, like this is not what the meaning of the original Jolene is. And it
Isn't
flips
it?
it on its head. Well, that's the thing, and that's the thing is because, like I always love to say, and I firmly believe this, is that the wonderful thing about art, and this includes music, is that you can interpret it in multiple ways, right? Like, and I think that that's interesting what we're talking about here because you have an artist like Beyonce, who, like you said, known and on the record for taking classic songs and interpolating them and reinterpreting them in her way. That's all she's doing here. And the fact that Dolly Parton herself shows up to introduce this means that this definitely was vetted by Dolly. Dolly let this happen. She was like, "Yeah, no, sure, go for it. You're Beyonce. Like you can do this." there is like, you could say like there's some similarities between the two artists, and like that shows. And the reaction people are having is like, all of a sudden they've never heard a cover before or something. It's like, oh, how dare you re-record this song and make alternate lyrics for this? It's like, well, yeah, she's taking a different take on it. She is putting basically the character that she introduced in Lemonade and basically saying, well, what would that character say to Jolene? Like this Becky with the good hair character, this like this person who has stolen her man, or like, you know, her man is cheated
or
with,
wants to steal her man.
Right, exactly. And like, I saw it as just like, oh, she's having fun with the concept of Jolene with permission from the writer of Jolene. Why is there a problem? That was my take. I thought it was cool. I thought it was like a neat way to approach the material in a fresh way. I thought it was hilarious. It really worked for me because it doesn't take this, the existence of this does not take away the original Jolene. You can still go listen to it. You can still enjoy it on its own merits. And I even noticed that there are structural like differences. Like, I think one of the most interesting, fascinating things with the original Jolene, and a lot of people were pointing this out in their arguments against it, is that it is layered in the way where it's not necessarily just that Dolly's character, depending, is saying, oh, I hate Jolene. There's a layer there of like almost admiration to the jealousy. There's a layer there where she's talking about like how beautiful Jolene is, and like how she gets it, almost like why someone would fall in love with Jolene in that way.
Mm-hmm.
That's missing from the Beyoncé take. Beyoncé doesn't care about that at all. For her version, she's just maybe a little bit, but she spends the duration. She spends the bulk of the song saying like, "Oh no, I'm gonna beat your ass."
Yeah,
like that's where she's focused, and so it's trying to do a different thing. Like, if you want that Jolene, you can still have it. I just don't understand how people can't compartmentalize. It's like, it's the thing we keep talking about on this podcast, which is there's just a tendency on the internet just to be like, no, I have to take this very extreme side, and if anything challenges that, they're wrong and I'm still right. And it's like, well, no, that's not how things work. You can hold different ideas in your head at the same time, and you can understand both things and have a conversation about it, instead of just being like, no, I'm going to die on this Jolene Hill and nobody can convince me otherwise. It's like, all right, let's calm down. It's a song. Like, you can still have the thing that means like that much to you. This doesn't take it away. I don't know. I just thought that was,
it's weird coming like literally weeks from Luke Combs and his Fast Car performance at the Grammys, which was also a cover.
But that's a straight one-to-one cover. And that's the thing, is that's actually a perfect example, is like the reaction is completely different. And I think there's a lot to unpack why those reactions are different, right? Where like you have Luke Combs doing a very one-to-one cover of Fast Car. And then
doesn't even change the lyrics in it, just
performing with Tracy Chapman and kind of being in awe of Tracy Chapman the whole time. And like, it just worked. Everybody loved it. And nobody had a complaint. And then you have the opposite almost, where it's like, okay, here is an artist who is reinterpreting a classic song by a white country artist who is a black country artist who's covering it. There's a lot to think about why the reaction is so different. There's a lot of moving parts here. And
did we also get into the Blackbird cover from the Beatles though?
No, we haven't talked about that yet, because but that's also an interesting comparison, because that is more of a one-to-one cover.
Yeah, that's why I was going to bring it up.
But there are more layers than that than you think of. Do you know why Paul McCartney wrote Blackbird? What was that inspiration for Blackbird?
I don't have the inspiration, but I saw a little blurb of someone kind of explaining like the meaning behind the Blackbird song that the Beatles wrote, and then why both Beyonce and like 4 other women are on the Blackbird. Sorry, 3 other women, like their own like Beatles, 3 or 4, whatever, their own like little
something like that.
Blackbird Beatles version.
But you more or less know the context, but for those listening who don't know, it was written in reaction to the civil rights movement. So it is at its heart a story about the Black community. And so it is kind of a full circle moment. And that, like that, what you're referencing, the article you're referencing, it does have meaning then when Black artists cover it. it is kind of a reclamation. And so to see Beyonce here doing it and then inviting other Black women to sing on it is very poignant. However, you're right. Stylistically, it's interesting. Compared to the Jolene cover, it's not a reinterpretation at all. It is just that song. And I think it is because it has this meaning to Beyonce, and she wanted to perform it in a way that honors that original intent. And that's fine too. Like, both of these things exist, and both of these things are the way that Beyonce wanted to do it, and they exist on this album together. And I think that like, that makes sense. Like, I don't think that is in conflict like some people are saying that it is, but I don't know. Anyway,
I think it's interesting that this is Beyonce. Is this her first album where she's had multiple covers of a song, both Jolene and Blackbird? Because she's not known for doing covers.
Let me turn real quick to my Beyonce expert behind me. Is this the first Beyonce record where she's had more than one cover? Yes, you think so? Okay, she thinks so. So you might be right.
Because she's not known for, I'm saying, she's not known for doing covers. She's not known for
right.
Like, she wants to make her own music, make her own stamp on it. So to take someone else's music and put her own stamp and spin on it is more of a Beyonce move, than just doing a straight cover.
Yeah, and I think that speaks a lot to the spirit of what she's doing with these Renaissance trilogy of records. Because, like I kind of mentioned last week, my assumption here is that this was going to be the country version of what she did with Renaissance with dance music. It was basically like, I'm going to explore this genre. I'm going to play around with the tool set. I'm going to like see what, like, if I can Beyonce-fy, if you will, this genre that has built me in a lot of ways and interpret it in my own lens. I think that is what she's mostly doing here. I say mostly, because unlike Renaissance, I don't think that this is a wall-to-wall, back-to-front country album. I think that, and as more or less what she has another Black artist in the country sphere, Linda Martell, say in this record is as with what she feels about genre, which is it doesn't necessarily have to be this box that you're pigeonholed in. It doesn't have to necessarily be a thing that you have to do, check every box in, you have to follow the rules one. It is something you can play around with. It is something that you can expand. It's something that you can enjoy being in the space of, but not necessarily feel like it's a rigid restriction. And that's what I think. I think that it's less of a country record and more of a record that uses country as like an inspiration and a starting point for something else, and for a Beyonce version. Because there's not just country here. There's a song that just sounds straight up like a rap song on here, Spaghetti, and there's songs that go into like kind of a, I don't even know how to describe it, like a Little Richard, like early rock and roll kind of thing, with Ya Ya.
That's what I was looking at. Yeah,
and then there's stuff that sounds like, and then of course the cover of Blackbird, which is not a country song, it is a Beatles song. It's almost a folk inspiration happening there. So you get a little folk, you get a little Americana. You start and end with songs that almost sound like kind of a gospel choir approach to like a patriotic anthem, like a hymn.
I mean,
almost.
You start with the American Requiem, which is basically the American Dream, just reworded.
And so that's what I'm saying. It's like, I think that she is cognizant of the fact, like what she said in her Instagram post a few weeks ago, which is like, it's not a country album. It is a Beyonce album that I think uses country. It like uses country as a place to discuss, as like a framing device, I think is the best term, right? It's a framing device. Be like, go into this thinking about country and the icons of country music, like cowboy hats and line dancing, like patriotism and the idea of America, the American dream, as you mentioned. And like, that is the frame in which you're viewing the canvas, but the canvas is still a Beyonce piece of art. It's still like Beyonce is making the statement here within this frame. It is not necessarily, I don't think this, and that is what I wanted to ultimately push back on, which what you said about being a country record, is I don't think this competes with country categories at all in the Grammys. I don't think, if they do it, I think it's a mistake, is what I'm saying, because this is not what that is. I don't think Beyonce intends it to be. I think it's still a pop record that uses country as a palette.
Does that make it more of an Americana record then?
No, not at all, because this is, I think, again, it's just using elements of Americana, but I don't think it's a pop record. There are pop songs here.
Yeah.
Like, it's still very Beyonce. We
I think it's
probably
more
need to
folky
say,
than.
yeah, maybe sometimes, but like, I think we probably need to say whether we liked it or not. We should be talking around it a lot.
No, allowing it mocked it. I mean, I think it's clear that we liked it. We're talking about
I
it.
mean, yeah.
I think from the two singles that were released, Texas Hold'em and 16 Carriages, it is more in line with 16 Carriages as
Yeah.
people mostly thought that it would be, and not
Yeah.
in the pop, or not pop, or more like in the line dancing kind of twang of
Yeah. No, Texas Hold'em is the outlier here. It is the poppiest, danciest, like, I hesitate to say danciest. There's a straight up dance song on this record. But yeah, it's
flamenco.
Like, yeah, it is like interesting. The fact that was kind of not necessarily mislead, but it was like a piece of a larger puzzle that we didn't even know. But yeah, I think overall I liked it. I think it's something that I need to spend more time with, because it is long. You did nail it on the head. It is very long. I think that maybe some of the interstitials are not needed. I don't know if I necessarily need Willie Nelson introducing two songs. I don't think it's necessary. I think that, yeah, I think it suffers from a modern idea that all statement albums, all quote important unquote albums, have to be very, very lengthy and stuffed full of ideas, which I don't think necessarily is super needed. I don't think you need to do that anymore, but it does add an air of ambition to it, which it already was going to have because it has Beyonce's name on it. So I don't know necessarily if you need it. I mean, this is the same artist who once put out a fairly short record with self-titled, and I think people were surprised by that. And here, delivering something twice its length, probably.
Yeah, and there's also an artist who took a role from a movie and created it into a visual art medium in Black is King.
Exactly. So, I mean, I think it is as ambitious and as like broad and huge as I thought it was going to be. I think that's all true. I think that it has moments of absolute pure brilliance. Like, I think there are great songs on here. I think that there are like very peak Beyonce moments. Absolutely. There's great song, like there's some amazing things here. I don't think it's all 100% great. I think there are moments of slight tedium when it gets into the stretch and you get a little bit too many ballads and you get a little moments of like, all right, like you said, checking the watch moments.
Mm-hmm.
There are a few, but I think generally speaking, she delivered what she intended here. I don't know if you saw, I'll kind of wrap up with this because I know we got other stuff to talk about, but I don't know if you saw that this apparently was going to be her follow-up to Lemonade. This was supposed to be released before Renaissance Act 1. She has been working on this record for 5 years, apparently.
I thought it was longer than 5 years. I mean, she
maybe
said
longer.
5 years.
Yeah.
That puts it in 2019. I thought this was working on this since 2016.
Something like that.
The idea of it with 2016.
So yeah, and I guess the reason why she pulled an audible was because she wanted to release a dance record during the pandemic, where she said people needed that. And I'm like, okay, good, but thematically it does make a lot of sense. A lot of things clicked when I read that because I was like, oh yeah, because that's why there's such a continuation of that character from Lemonade. A lot of references to the infidelity that was discussed on that record. A lot of like that vibe carries over into Cowboy Carter in a way that it really doesn't in Renaissance. And I thought that was kind of interesting to think about, like from a timeline point of view. And it does add some context to the record because it does seem like, oh wait, no, she's still thinking about these things years after. It's like, oh well, that makes sense now when those songs were written. But
like, did she pull a Christopher Nolan on us and release it out of order?
yeah, she's releasing things out of order. Yeah, the Christopher Nolan of music. But no, I think the ultimate thing I will say is I'm very impressed by it. I need to spend more time with it to see like how much I like it. I think Renaissance is a more immediate and makes a more like immediate impact than this does. I think this is more of a slower burn. but I think there's a lot to like here, and I think Beyonce did it again. Ultimately, I think it's another great Beyonce record, and I just don't see how she can make. She's almost too big to fail now. I don't think she has the capacity to make anything straight up bad, and I think that she just proves that over and over again.
I mean, not since Lemonade has she made anything like bad. It's all been her. It's all been her take, her interesting.
That's all she does.
Just what she does. She's an artist, and she's going to paint and create with her musical canvas.
Yep, and she wants us to look at that horse.
Yes, lots of images with the horse.
I did last real quick note. I did hear a very censored version of Levi's jeans on the radio yesterday or Friday on the way home. And I was like, why are we even bothering here? I get Post Malone is on this song, but this is not the single. Like, okay, sure. I don't know if they're going to try to make that the single, but all right. Godspeed to them.
I don't know. Have you looked into any like the Beyonce theory wells of like why there's double I's everywhere?
I just assumed it was because Act Two.
That's what I assumed too. Other
the first
people
thing
seem to be like,
yeah,
trying to pick apart of like why these songs.
No, I think that's literally it. I think it's just like, oh, I have an I, I'm gonna double it because of Act Two.
Yeah, I guess so.
I think that's as deep as that goes. But I could be wrong. I don't know. Beehive, email us and tell us if we're like missing some Easter egg, Taylor Swift style Easter egg that we like totally are.
Well, because it started because like the first song, American has two I's, but Requiem has one.
Maybe she only wants to do that bit once in the same song title. I don't know. It's too dumb to do twice.
You say that, but then there's Hands in Heaven, which has two I's.
I don't know. So, don't ask me. Like I said, ask the Beehive. They know.
Ask the Beehive. Okay.
Ask the Beehive. They're buzzing.
Well, let's ask later, or they can email us, as we need to move on to the next section.
Yes.
We spent about a half hour there.
I mean, I figured we would.
Figured with Beyonce. Everything else is going to go by fast here, including video games, as we start with new releases.
Yes.
And only 3 this week.
Okay.
We have Withering Rooms for the PC, PS5, and Xbox Series X.
Those rooms are withering.
Tengoku Struggle, Stray Side for the Nintendo Switch. And lastly, Turbo Golf Racing for the PC, PS5, Xbox Series X, and the Xbox One. Because Game Pass.
Why not? Yeah.
All right, let's get into the big video game story this week. And it's yet another sale.
Yep.
This one coming from the Embracer Group. Now they have announced that it has sold Borderlands developer Gearbox Entertainment to none other than, drum roll please, not one, but 2, Take-Two Interactive. The sale, which is total to be around $460 million, will see Gearbox become wholly owned by Take-Two, which already had an ongoing relationship with the developer through the Borderlands franchise. Quote from Randy Pitchford, the founder and CEO of Gearbox Entertainment. He said, "As a significant long-term Embracer Group shareholder, I believe in the strategy for the Embracer Group going forward, and I'm completely convinced that this transaction is the best possible scenario and an obvious net positive arrangement for Embracer Group, for Take-Two, and of course, for Gearbox." End quote.
Yeah,
so he's
what
a lot of praise to Embracer Group from the CEO of Gearbox Entertainment.
You know, there are a lot of things about Randy Pitchford, but he is a showman above else. This is the guy who is kind of semi-famous for being a magician in his spare time. He's a weirdo. He's a total weirdo. He's also the same dude who a few years back was caught with porn on a USB drive, and it got left into like I forget, was it a GDC, like a bar during GDC or something like that, and somebody found it? I don't know. Anyway, Randy Pitchford's a weird dude. But anyway, this ultimately, I think, is good news. Embracer was kind of trying to figure out how to save money because of all the debt they have after that deal that from the Saudi company Savvy Entertainment fell through. And so this is just continuing Embracer trying to figure out how to make that money back. This is just another step of that. Last week we talked, or a couple weeks ago, we talked about how Saber Interactive, one of their studios, went independent. So now they decided, well, why not just sell off Gearbox, one of their biggest acquisitions, and who better to own them than the company who was already publishing their games, 2K? It makes sense. So 2K took them into their arms, and now 2K is a whole wholly owned
Take-Two,
Gearbox.
not 2K.
Sorry, that's a very easy mistake to make, and I'll tell you why. Because 2K is owned by Take-Two. 2K is their publishing arm. So sorry, that's why I do this. I've always done this. Yes, by Take-Two. Anyway, so they were already had an existing relationship with Gearbox. This is no big surprise. This just streamlines the operation because now they're developing it in-house and they're publishing it in-house, which is fine. Though there is some bad news corollary to the story, which is after it hit, they did confirm that there will be some pretty severe layoffs at Gearbox as part of the sale, because this happens whenever a sale
always
occurs.
happens. Yep.
But they did also say that they're already continuing to work on the existing projects that were already in the hopper, including more Borderlands. So a Borderlands game of some type is in development. Also, a lot of people are pretty still confident that a sequel to Tiny Tina's Wonderlands is also in development in some capacity. So those two franchises, even though they're kind of the same franchise, will receive new games soon. Yeah. We'll eventually receive new games, and we'll hopefully see news about them soon. But yeah, now Embracer just won't be involved, which is probably, like Randy Pitchford says, good for everybody involved.
I mean, I never went back to the Wonderlands game.
Yeah.
I think I got to the point where you also stopped.
Yeah. It's got burned out.
Okay.
It's just the thing about those games is that they kind of become the same loop over and over again. And you can very much hit a wall, I think.
I don't know if it was for the same loop. I think for me it was just the stakes of a fantasy board game weren't as high.
Yeah.
Compared to in 2 and 3, literal world ending events.
I mean,
this is fantasy world ending event.
Yeah, and I just don't think fantasy is a great match for a franchise that is built around guns. I mean, it works, but to what end? I think and that's a thing for me that it didn't really quite click. But yeah, we'll see more from this. I think that this will hopefully lead to a more streamlined approach to Gearbox's games, which could be a good thing.
All right. Well, we will see when those layoffs happen, and 2, the next Gearbox installment.
Yep.
All right.
Cool.
Have you been playing anything?
Just more MLB The Show. I'm continuing my the Pitch 2, the sequel to Pitch. The first female pitcher in the league's adventure through trying to save the Colorado Rockies. Well, the Rockies still suck. I'm sorry, she can't single-handedly save them, but she's doing okay. I think she's run into some rough spots, but she was chosen to be the opening day pitcher in the 2025 opening day. So congratulations to Natalie. She at least did that. So
yeah, I know. We saw what happened to the Angels opening day pitcher.
Yeah,
oh wait, we're not there yet.
We'll get there in a second. But yeah, anyway, so yeah, just more of the show. Really nothing else. Although today, I understand that Diablo 4 is on Game Pass now, so I might dip into the PC version of that just to give it a shot on my rig in the next couple of days, because I have the entirety of tomorrow off, so I've got nothing to do. So I might do that tomorrow.
Are you sure you have tomorrow off? Is that a joke?
No, that is 100% correct, because it is Cesar Chavez Day, and all state government gets that as a holiday.
So it is a joke.
No, it's not a joke. It's real. Anyway, so thankfully,
I've been playing.
I get the day off.
Yeah, I've been playing more Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I want to say I'm halfway through the game now. I've hit chapter 8. Okay. I have finally met Kate Sith, and I am trying to get him in my party.
Hmm.
I think that's halfway through the game if I've read things correctly.
Probably.
Because I took a peek at like the overall map. There's only 2 more areas for me to explore, so I'm at least halfway through. And I got sidetracked this past week trying to do a lot of the side quests.
Mhm.
But right now I'm just like I'm pretty much over leveled at this point. At least I think I'm over leveled. So I think the rest of my time here is going to be streamlining to the end, and then going back and cleaning up a lot of the other stuff.
Okay.
Except those damn Queen Bloods games just keep popping up. I was like, ooh, I gotta do this.
Yep.
So good. All right. So that's it
Mhm.
for video games then.
Yeah, I think so, which means we can move on to our second half of the show here, where we start with television. And we always start the television section with the sports corner. And the day finally came, folks. It is opening day for baseball. But before we talk about the events of opening day in baseball, we have to talk about ESPN, as they could choose to opt out of their MLB contract after the 2025 season, as both sides had an opportunity to end the deal before the current contract expires in 2028. Now, no official word has come out of ESPN what they choose to do, but we will see as negotiations are ongoing.
This is rumblings, of course, but it
Mhm.
is of note that ESPN has stated that they want more of a piece of the MLB
Yeah,
if they were to continue with the contract, mainly in streaming
right.
the games, and mainly in seeing what they did with the NHL package
Yeah.
and how they stream all their games, and how the MLB and Bally's are currently in a
Yes.
very limbo. ESPN wants to go to MLB and say, we have streaming options
Mhm.
here. Just
Yeah.
we will broadcast all the games streaming on ESPN Plus. Just come over here.
Over here.
Don't listen to Amazon. Just come over here. We can end this contract in 2025, just like Amazon and Bally's is going to end in 2025. So when that happens, don't go to Amazon. Come here. Come to ESPN Plus. We could use the views for baseball
Yeah.
season.
Yeah, and you know what? It would simplify things for a lot of people. So I think there's something appealing about that idea. But ultimately, the league is the one who's going to have that call, because that's basically what put a stopper to the Amazon deal. Is that the league was like, wait, but no, we get to tell you whether this is something that happens.
Yes. So don't be
Yeah.
surprised if next year, 2025 season,
Mhm.
everything gets to ESPN Plus, because this is also what's happening, like you said, with MLB before
Yeah.
Amazon stuck their ugly nose in the door and tried to get
Right.
it through Bally's.
Yeah. Which, yeah, by the way, update on that, nothing has happened.
Nothing has
So
happened with the Bally's deal.
it's too late. Oh, the season's already started. You still are in the Bally's world. Unless you're a Rockies or Padres fan, then you're free of the Bally's chains. But everybody else who was on a Bally's deal is still there. So take that as you will. But anyway, before we talk more about opening day, quick football bits
It
here.
wasn't the only opening day this week.
No, the UFL, which from my understanding is the merged monster of the USFL and the XFL, started
Correct.
this weekend. Now, did you already watch this game? These
Uh
games?
Game.
Game.
I'm going to put huge quotes around this game because the one that I did watch yesterday was a
Yeah.
7-3 game.
Wait, that's it?
Yes.
Okay.
So yeah. Uh Sorry, Matt Castle. That wasn't a good performance. But at
At
least you're a starting quarterback again.
least.
At least.
It's funny.
Uh but
Oh
yeah,
well.
it's a game.
Yeah, it's still, yeah, it's not going to deliver NFL level performance.
Yeah, I mean I turned it off when it was 7-3. Apparently the final score was 16-18.
Eh,
Because those 3-point conversions make it interesting.
3-point conversions.
Yeah, you just move it back to the 20-yard line.
It's wild.
But yeah, otherwise, your former champions, the Birmingham Stallions, currently 1-0, and your Michigan Panthers, currently 1-0. The other 2 teams play today
All
as
right.
opening weekend continues for the UFL.
Yes. So maybe watch that. Although Just watch baseball instead, folks. All right. Anyway, while you're waiting for real football to happen, draft day is on its way. It will happen on April 25th for the NFL.
Less than a month away.
Less than a month away. Any big names to watch for this draft day, in your opinion?
Will the Bears actually choose Caleb Williams #1 overall? Because he's
Yes.
betting odds favorite to go #1 overall.
Yes.
But if for some reason he doesn't, or the Bears get like a monster package to move off of that #1 spot again, because they had the #1 pick last year.
Right.
Technically, this is the Panthers' #1 pick that they traded to the Bears.
Could happen.
So it could happen, but all signs point to Caleb going to Chicago, unless for some reason another quarterback like just impresses them more. And we have like an actual like draft day scenario happen.
Yeah. Draft day 2.
Yes, your Kevin Costners get all fuddy-duddy with their draft picks.
We'll see. But I'm pretty sure the odds are correct that this will just be as simple as they'll just take him.
Yes, it's how fast can you write Caleb Williams' name down and submit it if it's not already written on the card.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, let's move on. Now we finally get to talk about proper baseball opening day, which took place on Thursday. The biggest thing that happened from the jump, is that at his very first at-bat, 3-time MVP Mike Trout did it again and hit a homer immediately. However, everything went downhill immediately for the Angels right after that, and they were not able to pick up against the Orioles. And the rest of opening day had a kind of that weird tinge to it. Combined the 2 first days, you had not 1, but 2 bench clears in 2 different games. You had some weird upsets at the same time as you had some predictable wins. It was a smattering of weird events happening, especially if you happen to be a Milwaukee Brewer. Balls were hit towards your head occasionally.
Behind your head.
Yeah, people were ejected. Geez, I don't even know where to start. There's just so much chaos in 2 days of games. Did you watch any of this?
Baseball more exciting. Yeah, I've seen the highlights every night because apparently just baseball like got all of a sudden exciting in the past like 2 days.
Oh yeah, 3 days now, but yeah, like
yes,
because yesterday's games were pretty crazy too.
Well, I don't count Friday because the Eagles didn't play, so they only played 2 games.
Okay. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, so far, the vibe I'm getting is that people are really on edge, and I don't know why. Christy and I like to think it's because of the eclipse. That there's some sort of astrological reason why everybody is like furious at nothing right now. But yeah, I think there's also an element to this where it's like everybody's really raring to go for some reason this season. Everybody was firing on all cylinders coming out of the gate on fire, trying to prove a point. However, not if you're Shohei Ohtani. He had apparently a pretty strong showing the first 2 games in the current series, Dodgers. However, Game 3, yesterday, did not go his way. Apparently, he was in a clutch spot and did not deliver. And so I saw Dodgers fans at deja vu, like all these Dodgers fans reacting to this as if it's the first time it's happened, because it is the first time it's happened to them.
To them.
Where it's like, wait a minute, Ohtani didn't deliver? Ohtani's not this perfect god who can immediately give us an RBI? What happened?
Demanding a $700 million refund immediately.
Right. Immediately, they all were saying like, oh, it's a wash. Ohtani's washed. Oh no, we're over. And I'm like, you guys, this is just Ohtani. He is great when he wants to be great.
3.
But the thing with Ohtani is he is not clutch. He has never been clutch. He is not a guy that you put in at a time where you need him to operate, because he will strike out or he will pop out, and he popped out immediately.
Well, it's because he always swings for the fences in those moments.
Always does. That you can get Ohtani to chase in a way that you can't get Trout to chase. And that they're going to find this out. They're going to find this out about Ohtani. Every time I face Ohtani digitally in the show, I know to throw a changeup under the zone because he always fishes for it. He never doesn't, even digital Ohtani. And so I'm like, I know this. And I'm not a professional baseball player. You need to learn how to pitch to them. And they are learning, and Dodgers fans need to realize this. Anyway.
Anyways, baseball's back.
Baseball's back and it's great. I've watched so many games. Mostly the end of games because I'll wait until I watch the entire Angels game and then I'll tune in
To
on
see
the
what's
MLB
left,
TV,
yeah.
switch to whatever's still on.
Mhm.
I did like 3 switches after the Angels game yesterday. I watched like several of the endings and yeah, it's a good time. Like I said, that Brewers game was wild.
Yep.
Like the Mets and the Brewers are developing some sort of weird bad blood between them.
I don't know what happened there over the past couple of years.
Yeah, it's coming to a head right now and it's brutal. I don't know what's
Yeah.
going on there. But yeah, it's just been fun to have baseball back. That's all I'm saying. And it's just entertaining. Everything's just working. The one thing that we need to talk about real briefly before we move on in sports is what do you think about this base obstruction rule? Because it is tearing like people apart, what they think about it. Are you familiar with this?
Wait, to first base or to second base?
I think my understanding is it's any base because I saw this being called at second and at home. Basically, there was the new rule for this season is about obstruction at the base path. So the idea is that now that's something that the umpire on the fly can say the baseman was in the way, obstructing access to the base from the runner. They can
That's
call that
always-
immediately. It cannot be reviewed. The ump can just immediately be like, sorry, they're safe because you obstructed the base immediately after the play.
I feel like that's always been a thing where you're not allowed to obstruct the runner
Yeah,
from getting to the base.
it was always a thing. But now the ump has the power to immediately punish. That's
There's no review on
there's
it.
no review. The ump can immediately be like, that's obstruction, they're safe.
That's too much
which
power.
is brutal at home.
Yes.
Because if you obstruct at home,
That's an
a
automatic
run.
safe. Yeah, that's an automatic run.
And so what I've noticed is a lot of the commentators are pointing out how flawed this rule is because if the ball comes to you in a certain angle, you have to catch it at that angle. So if your hand is stretched across the base because that's where the ball is, the ump can call that obstruction when the person who caught the ball is just trying to catch the ball and make the play. They have no choice. There's nothing they could really. What did they expect them to do? Get up, physically move to the other side of the base before the ball comes to them? That's impossible in most scenarios. The ball's coming too fast. So yeah, people are basically pointing out that it's a stupid rule and we've seen that play out over the last few days where it's led to a lot of annoying calls. And I think it's one of the factors making people angry, which is like adding fuel to their fire. So we'll see how long that rule is instated.
We'll see if there's any mid-season changes like we saw last year.
And they still need to take that stupid Ghost Runner out.
Ghost Runners.
That led to, on opening day, the Tampa Bay game went 12 innings because of this, where because even if you score, the other team still has to have the bottom of the inning to respond. And they get that man on second every time. And so it just kept going. A game that should have ended just kept going. So yeah. They gotta take that Ghost Runner on.
But at least, hey, there's some good stuff that happens too. Like the Orioles were the first team this year to have all 9 batters reach home before an out was made.
Yes, they did. I watched it happen.
Congrats to the Orioles and pity whatever team they played against. Honestly, wait, that was us.
Yeah, the thing is that the teams that were expected to have a hot start are having hot starts, and that includes the Orioles with a blazing hot spring or coming in swinging, and then the Dodgers
24 runs in 2 games.
Yeah, and the Dodgers, as expected, are having a pretty good, solid start, including the games in Seoul. The Giants also, with their newfangled, reformed offense, are showing up and are playing well against the Padres in this series. It's like, yeah, so far the names that you expected to be great are great. The names you expected to suck, like the A's and the Rockies, are delivering on sucking. So everything exists as it is so far in the balance. So we'll have to wait as the season evolves to see if there are any surprises, any teams that come out of nowhere. And I just have my fingers crossed that the Angels can figure something out to compete, because as it stands right now, it's going to be the same old in their division.
Yeah, I'm looking at the standings right now. Nothing. I mean, because there's only been 3 games, nothing's really
Right.
standing out of like, oh,
Nothing
this
really
team's
standing
hot,
out.
this team's cold. It's like, oh, if you've won, you're probably on a streak. If you're lost, you're probably on a downward spiral.
So a
But
little
it's
too
too
soon to
early
call.
to panic.
Right. So next week we'll like in the future weeks we'll like see how things are going. But for now, pretty much the narratives are staying the narratives that they've
There's
been.
182 games to go through.
Yeah, it's a lot. So just wait. All right, let's move on to other sports. In the NBA, the Rockets, Warriors, and Nets, as well as the Hawks, are vying for that last playoff spot before the season ends on April 14th. So the last couple weeks.
Yes. So in the East, it's the Hawks and the Nets. And then in the West, it's the Rockets and the Warriors vying for those last spots.
So yeah, if any of those are your teams, I start pulling for them.
But there's also like 2 weeks remaining in the season.
Yeah. So
and there's a game or a game or a game and a half separating between these 2 teams. So it can flop at any moment. You got to stay hot going into the playoffs.
Same thing goes for hockey as the NHL pulls into its end, which will be April 18th. So keep your eyes peeled for what happens there as well.
Yeah, outside of the Bruins, as we talked about last week, no one else has officially wrapped up. Oh, games happened last night. We have division winners. Well, not division winners, but we have playoffs in all divisions.
All right.
Including the Vancouver Canucks in the Pacific, the Dallas Stars and the Colorado Avalanche in the Central, the Rangers and the Hurricanes in the Metropolitan, and the aforementioned Bruins joined by the Panthers in the Atlantic Division. So that is 2, 4, 6, 7 teams officially in the playoffs.
All right.
Nobody's clinched the division yet, but playoffs are starting to form.
All right. Well, we'll see what happens in the coming weeks.
Yes. 4 of those teams have already crossed the 100-point mark. So tears.
Yeah. Sorry. Sometimes it doesn't work out.
Yeah.
Let's move on into the last one in case you have some money on this. College basketball March Madness is still mad. It is the 31st, but they're going to continue being mad into April as we have reached the Elite Eight in both tournaments, I believe. Is that correct?
That's correct.
But brackets continue to bust as unpredictable this still happens in the at least the men's tournament. The women's tournament, as you mentioned last week, is a little bit more predictable. You have the all Elite Eight games on that side are the number 1 versus the number 3 seeds, which is like, more or less right.
Yeah, more or less correct. It's weird that they are all number 1 versus number 3. They play both today and tomorrow to get to the Final Four in the championship game. Also weird that they once again put Iowa and LSU in the same side of the bracket compared to what happened last year. I was like, oh, come on. That should have been the finals. Just separate them. You know they're going to make it. Don't put them on the same side. But the women's basketball continues to women's basketball. And it continues to be good as points get put up. High scoring games in there too.
Yeah, I've heard.
And
then on the men's side, a little less predictable, but is it though? As you have a matchup versus the number 1 seed UConn against the number 4 seed Alabama. But then you have another one that's a number 1, number 2 matchup. And then you have also a weird bracket busting one, a number 4 and a number 11 seed matchup.
That is correct. We have 2 of the Final 4 already in place as they played yesterday. Number 1 UConn versus number 1 Alabama. The other 2 games in the Elite Eight will play later today, so we do not have a final for you. But it is number 1 Purdue versus number 2 Tennessee. And the other side, the one that's busted everyone's bracket open, number 4 Duke versus number 11 NC State. That's North Carolina State. Who I was reading some thread on the NC State subreddit where had they missed a free throw, because the team they were facing in the finals of the ACC championship game missed a free throw at the end, allowing NC State to tie it with a buzzer beater 3-pointer. Otherwise, they would not be in this tournament, and they'd be in the NIT tournament instead. But because they tied it and they ended up winning in overtime, and that's an automatic seed to this tournament, and here they are continuing that run. It is like, it's what bracket busting is all about. These Cinderella stories, these number 10 and over seeds that make it to the Elite Eight and Final Four.
Yeah.
But they're going up against Duke, which is historically a good team, and we'll see if they overcome them later today. If they do, otherwise we have what's most likely being a number 1 and number 4 on one side, and a number 1 and number 4 on the other side.
All right. Well, we'll see what happens. All right. In the meantime, is there any other sports stories that we need to cover before we move on to television news?
Nope. I think we're good. Let's go to television news.
All right. We have a brief follow-up from a story we reported on a couple of weeks ago about Rooster Teeth, the company that Warner Brothers shut down after years of some beloved internet and television series. An update about their most famous, I believe, of all of the thing that started it all, Red versus Blue, the machinima series that was built with Halo, the Halo franchise. Red versus Blue Restoration has been announced, the 19th and final season of Rooster Teeth's groundbreaking comedy sci-fi series. That's one way to put it. And is available starting May 7th and it's in its entirety as a 87-minute feature-length film, distributed by Warner Brothers Discovery Home Entertainment, whether they like it or not. The movie will be available on May 7th, as I just said. The story is very funny in the way it's written. The show debuted in 2003 before YouTube launched. Fun fact. Red vs. Blue, in addition to establishing a popular digitally distributed entertainment franchise before the streaming revolution, this is the most press releasey thing I've ever read on this podcast, was innovative in using machinima. I already said this, to create animations using video game engines. All you need to know here is that if you like Red versus Blue, they're going to wrap it up proper with a finale.
A 4th time finale, I think, with this season. I don't know how
many times they've done this.
Yes. But as we reported like 2 weeks ago with Rooster Teeth's final closing, people wondered if Red versus Blue would get a final season. People wondered if Ruby would get a final season.
Who knows?
So far, it looks like Ruby will not be continuing on any longer. Same with Jen Locke. But Red versus Blue, because that was already made and already in the can, and they're just going to make this their final season. So whatever ending they had, they probably rewrote it to just make it an absolute ending with everything. And that will be available starting May 7th for purchase.
Yep. So 20 years after its debut. Yeah. So it's a long time coming for Red
20 years and 19 seasons. Although I don't know if those first 2 seasons were official seasons until later.
I don't know how many you bunched together.
Yep.
Anyway. All right. That's it for that story. So you have one thought to talk about. Tell me about your 3 bodies and why that's a problem.
So normally you're supposed to have 1 body, typically 2. We have a gravitational pull. But when there's a 3rd body introduced, it's just all chaos. And that's a problem because there is no mathematical formula out there to say what happens in a 3-body problem. In the 3-body, that is a problem. It's actually it's a 3-body star system problem.
Okay.
But it's based off the book 3-Body Problem, which is based off of the mathematical it's not a formula, it's a theory, or it's a quandary, paradox, I think is probably a better word. The paradox of a 3-body problem. Which is that if there's 3 bodies in a solar system and each one pulls on each other, there is no mathematical equation available to say like a perfect loop, because they will all intersect and they will all throw things off. It's a very complicated mathematical anomaly.
Seems
that
complicated.
is very complicated, but they try and make it interesting here because it's based off the book. And the three
Ah.
body problem is spoilers, not our system because we're a two body system of the planet and the sun. This
Sure.
is a three body problem, which means spoilers. Aliens.
Oh, I don't think that's a spoiler.
I don't know. I mean, it is because like any of these commercials for the three body problem did not have any of that like
Yeah.
included anywhere in it. It's just been this like, oh, what is this weird sci-fi thing created by the guys who did Game of Thrones, D.B. Weiss and David Benioff.
Mhm.
I think that's the D&D
That
version.
sounds right.
Yeah. So this is part of their Netflix deal after their HBO deal fell through from Game of Thrones, and then after their Star Wars deal fell through because of Game of Thrones. Netflix still went through with it, and they created this show despite all the Game of Thrones problems that happened.
Yeah.
And like I said, it's based off a best-selling book called The Three Body Problem, where these group of very scientifically minded people are become privy to extraterrestrial knowledge and strange phenomena start happening. And they get to know that, oh, aliens are coming. But here's the catch. They'll be here in about 400 years.
Oh,
So
shit.
now it becomes this kind of like quandary of, okay, if it's coming from 400 years, is it my problem to fix now? Or is it someone else's problem to fix? I think a lot of infighting, and I think that's where a lot of this intrigue in this story comes from. Why people are watching it and talking about it and why it's a good book is that it's metaphor
Mhm.
here, global warming, in case that wasn't obvious,
Yeah.
of kicking the problem down the road of we could spend all our time solving it now, or we could spend our time preparing ourselves to fight whatever it is, or
Mhm.
to help whatever it is. If we can do it now and we can help fix it, do we have a moral obligation to fix it or prepare for it? Or can we, kick it down the road, as some people in here like to do, because it's going to be
Yeah.
400 years. I'm not going
Yeah.
to be here in 400 years. You're not going to be here. My kids and their kids and their kids are not going to be here. So it's whoever's down the line, future problem. I don't know if I really like this show.
That is the vibe I'm getting, where I think everybody whose reaction to this has been like, I see what it's doing and it's interesting sometimes, but do I want to watch all of it? And that's where they kind of peter off.
Yeah, and it's 8 episodes, each an hour long. So it's 8 hour investment time. Or you could go watch Don't Look Up, which is also on Netflix, for 2 hours and kind of more or less get the same moral quandary and results of a movie with actual like stars you actually want to watch
Mhm.
instead of these TV actors who are too good looking to be scientists.
A perennial problem.
It is unknown if it's going to get a season 2, but current, like you said, current buzz is that people are mixed reviews on it, and that's how I kind of feel on it. I'm set 5, 6 episodes through the 8, and part of me is I kind of want to see what happens, and part of me is I just got the twist 3 episodes in. I know it's going to happen now for the next 5,
Yeah.
and then same thing of like, if I do I really care if it's not going to be my problem down the road? And
Hey, that's your choice to make.
hey, that is my three body problem.
Yeah, that's your three body problem with three body problem. All right, so
Yes.
that's three body problem. Check it out if you want to, I guess, if you're willing to deal with it.
Yep.
All right, let's
I
move
mean, basically I'm
on.
watching this instead of
Yeah,
the Nickelodeon documentary that's being out
yeah,
there.
it's out there. People are talking about it, but it's pretty much what we already knew, is what I will
Yeah.
say about that. All right, let's move on to cancellations and renewals.
What am I no longer watching?
Oh yeah, I guess I should really briefly say The Bachelor wrapped up. The finale was okay. That's all literally all I'll say. It's fine. Stuff worked out. All right, let's move on to cancellations and renewals. We begin with a cancellation here. Death and Other Details on Hulu has been canceled just after one season. So, hey, Mandy Patinkin needs work. Somebody go hire Mandy Patinkin. Then renewals, we have Hell's Kitchen on Fox being renewed for 2 more seasons. That takes it to a season 23 and a season 24. So more Hell's Kitchen. And then Apple TV Plus has renewed The Last Thing He Told Me for a 2nd season. So I guess that wasn't the last thing he told him or her or whoever. There'll be another last thing. So there you go. Then when we move into some deaths, we do have 2 deaths to briefly discuss here. First up, Louis Gossett Jr., age 87, an actor most known for being the first Black man to win supporting actor in the Oscars for his role in An Officer and a Gentleman in 1989. Then he has also won an Emmy back in 1977 for his role in Roots, the famous miniseries. So yeah, a legend of Black actors, and definitely a loss for that community and for everybody. It does definitely seem like this was a brutal one for some people. So, but yeah, but has the awards to prove it. Just some spectacular performances under his belt. But yeah, age 87. Then we also had a kind of brutal one because of just how young she was and how shocking the circumstances were. Or them, I actually don't know. Chance Perdomo, age 27, I believe, died in a automobile accident just at age 27. So had parts in
yesterday. Is that yesterday?
Yeah.
Or like yesterday or Friday?
Yeah. Very, very sudden, very, very soon. But yeah, we had roles in Sabrina and Gen V. So pretty recent stuff. All right. That will do it for cancellations, renewals, and deaths. And we move into a changing underneath my feet box office as we move into movies. Being updated as I speak. I'll go slow. Number 1 at the box office this week, debuting at number 1, was Godzilla X Kong, by Kong, with Kong.
You're gonna go cross?
Kong. Yeah, cross Kong. It's your deal.
Yeah.
The New Empire, which made $80 million in its debut. Not bad. Not bad at all. Godzilla versus Kong, or not versus, teamed up with, I guess.
Godzilla and Kong.
Yeah, I don't know how you're supposed to read it. Number 2, Ghostbusters Frozen Empire made another $15.7 million. That's at 73 domestic. Number 3, Dune Part 2 trucks along with another $11 million. That's at 252 domestic for the year. Number 4, Kung Fu Panda 4 made another $10 million. That's a $151 million. And rounding out your top 5 this week, Immaculate. That's the Sydney Sweeney nun movie. Made another $3.2 million. That's at 11 million even. So that is your box office. Then the only film we have on the docket for this upcoming Friday so far is Dev Patel in Monkey Man. So if you want to see him,
Dev Patel both wrote and directed and stars in Monkey Man.
Monkey Man. So get ready. I've heard mixed things so far about Monkey Man, but maybe it's a fun time. I don't know. We'll find out.
Kung Fu in a suit. Like, we've seen that before.
It's true. All right, let's move into movie news. Hey, do you like Pirates of the Caribbean? The Caribbean? We've been having a back and forth, Christy and I, where I say it like they do in the ride, Pirates of the Caribbean, and she thinks that's wrong because it's the Caribbean. How do you say it?
It has bean in there, so it's Caribbean. And that's just put you in a whole other spin in it.
Yeah,
it
really,
Caribbean.
You gave me a third. You gave me a 3-body problem. I didn't need a 3-body.
This is a 3 Caribbean problem.
3 Caribbean problem. Anyways,
Caribbean.
All right, I'll just call it that Disney Pirates franchise. Is going to perhaps be rebooted if producer Jerry Bruckheimer is to be believed. He has confirmed that it will be getting a reboot with the long in development 6th movie in the franchise. Bruckheimer confirmed back in 2022 that Johnny Depp, who starred as Captain Jack Sparrow in all 5 previous Pirates entries, was not on board for the 6th voyage. There were, however, rumblings of a female-led Pirates movie starring Margot Robbie, with 2 scripts in development, one with her and one without. The newest entry sees Craig Mazin, everybody's favorite from The Last of Us, taking over script writing duties alongside original screenwriter Ted Elliott. So, how do you reboot the Pirates? Do you do it an all-female crew? I think that's an angle, but what's the angle here?
I think you do it with a mutiny. If you do it with an all-female cast, that you do it from the ground up, or rather from the, was it aft up?
Yeah,
Aft to the bottom of the ship, right?
in the bottom, yeah, I think so.
Yeah, where
Um,
you just do a mutiny, and it's a true pirate on the seas that, hey, I'm going to take over and have a mutiny on the ship. And
yeah,
that's how you get, 1, your ship, 2, establish your crew, and 3, establish a villain of, hey, I want my ship back.
yeah. Does
It's a
Keira
powerful
Knightley
motivation
return?
of, I just want my ship back.
Yeah. Does Keira Knightley return? Do they get her back? Right.
Um,
You do, right? I mean, why not?
yeah, why wouldn't you?
Yeah. Why wouldn't you?
Um,
See it?
I could see it, yeah.
Hmm, yeah.
Like, I think that's how you go with it, though. At least that's how
Yeah.
I would go with it. It's just, you do, if you're gonna do a female cast, you just go from the ground up and just say, hey, we don't like, put it in the mindset of, we don't think women can run a ship, and then just show them
They can.
gradually
Yeah.
taking over the ship and then running the ship and kicking everyone out. Like, hey,
The,
they earned it.
the Ocean's 8 of Pirates films. Anyway. Yeah, they could do it. Why not?
Yeah, why not?
Cool.
It's weird though that they're running with 2 scripts, one with and one without Margot Robbie. You think you just,
Yeah,
recast?
but I think that that's probably just like how all these development processes work, is you have multiple options until finally you're just like, all right, let's just do this. That's
Or
probably
you
what
write, like,
happens here.
I mean, I know that's how you're supposed to write, is that you write in the character of a voice you want to play
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
So
Dream casting,
yeah,
wish
screencasting.
casting. But anyway, I don't know. We'll see what happens. We'll see if the Pirates return. But yeah, without Johnny Depp is probably the best move.
Yes.
All right, let's move into a couple movies you saw. They could not be any more different from each other. Which one do
They
you
are
want to start
very,
with?
we'll go in order here.
Okay.
So part of A24's deal is that, 1, they make good movies. 2, sometimes they make interesting movies. And
Uh-huh.
3, sometimes those movies are hit and miss. As we've seen hit and miss with, like, oh, Everything Everywhere All at Once, A24, so greatly beloved. Midsummer, horror film, A24, mixed reviews, mixed
Yeah.
beloved. And then there's a movie that comes along called Dream Scenario. This is the Nicolas Cage is appearing in my dreams movie. I thought it was an interesting premise when I saw the trailer. I thought this was an interesting take, because, like, oh, this is gonna be weird and goofy and right up a Nicolas Cage kind of movie alley. And it was. It was interesting and goofy, and interesting take on, like, the celebrity status of literally taking someone unknown, like a college professor who is just very insulated and just isolated in their field, and also making this huge celebrity, and the both triumph and turmoil that comes with a celebrity status
Mm,
with it.
yes.
I thought that's a great premise,
Sure.
and that's pretty much more or less what this movie is, for like the first half of the movie. Then it gets super weird, because it takes it leans heavily into that celebrity status and kind of like the power, or the power that you think you have as a celebrity, going into this, into it is a dream scenario, so it's like a dreamlike state of, well, if I do have this power, people are more or less throwing their bodies at me, why wouldn't I take advantage of this
Mm,
new popular status that I have, this new
right.
power that I've never once held in any status? And I think that's more or less what the message of the movie is, where if no one has power, also you give them power, power corrupts, absolutely. That's more or less kind of where Street Scenario comes from, or at least the plot of it, and how, oh, very easy to follow. I thought I'd go more to leading to the dreamlike state of, like, why is he appearing in everyone's dream? Why is everyone thinking about him? Instead, it leaded to
Yeah.
more obvious, oh, celebrity and power corrupts moral quandaries of stuff. So I was
Sure.
like, oh, I like the first half of this. And then there's a very obvious turn where I was like, this is very wrong because Nicolas Cage tries to make a dream a reality. And it's like, oh, that's the thing that goes wrong is sometimes, like, dreams can be nightmares because nightmares are dreams too. So I don't know if I really recommend this. I think it's an interesting watch, an interesting take, but it's not something that I'm like, go see it this weekend.
Yeah.
It's if you're in the Nicolas Cage marathon, which most people sometimes do.
Yeah, some people do that.
Yeah, I think it would be hard pressed to miss on this one. But it's like a very niche and very narrow like view that I could
Yeah.
recommend this.
Yeah, I mean that's more or less the kind of movie he makes now, right? Is very navel gazy, very much like only Nicolas Cage could do this character, do this interpretation. It's like very much in that wheelhouse, it sounds like.
Yeah, but I feel like you'd have a lot better time in that kind of wheelhouse with the
Mhm.
one he did with Pedro Pascal.
Oh, is that what is it? The weight of something of
Yeah,
being
the weight of
talented or
international
something. I forget the
talent.
name, long ass
Yeah,
name of that movie. But yeah.
yeah. I think you have a much more fun time with that movie
Mhm.
than with this movie, though.
Yeah. Well, but it's there if you want it.
Yep.
So okay. But as for the other movie you watched,
The other movie I watched was on Peacock, and it was
yeah.
available, and I was like, oh, okay, I can have this on in the background, and that's more
Mhm.
or less what it is. It's kind of like a background movie.
It wasn't for the kid.
Talking
It
about
wasn't for the kid to watch.
no, the kid doesn't watch movies yet,
Not yet. We'll
not
get
yet.
there.
For now, it's still for me, but we'll get there.
Yeah, for now.
Um, Trolls Band Together, the
Yes.
third movie, and not as some would assume the fourth movie in this thing, because there are four trolls in the band. But yeah, it's a kids movie. I don't really want to bash it that much, but oh my god, so many times where I was saying, this is stupid, this is stupid, this is stupid, especially when the whole plot revolves around these two musicians who steal talent from a former troll boy band and are using their talents to make themselves talentful. Uh, I feel like there's something here that could have explored more into using people and using people's talent and using their talent for money and making money and just the unseating nature of a music industry where they just use people and toss them aside. I feel like there's something that could have been there, but then someone read a script and be like, wait, is this supposed to be a kids movie? Let's make this more kid friendly. And it got butchered from it.
Oh no.
It's
They're
especially
playing it
coming
too
off of
safe. Is that what you're saying?
very safe, especially coming
Yeah.
off of Trolls World Tour, which I loved because it explored all the different music and genres.
Sure.
This is more just in line of it's a straight, we're going to make as many boy band references as we can, and we're going to make so many family references as we can that
Yeah.
if you liked the World Tour, which I did because it had all the very different like styles all mixed together to create like a perfect like harmony and balance of, oh, this is what the Trolls world could be, very musically inclined. And someone somewhere along signs, someone said, yeah, but let's do that with boy bands. But except boy bands are mainly pop, and because of that, it's very one note throughout the whole movie.
Yeah. That's yeah. I mean, I would say that's disappointing, but then again, I don't think that they're making that kind of movie anymore. I don't think they're making movies for like to win like the animated picture Oscar at the
Right.
at the Academy Awards. I don't think that's what they're doing. They're making very middle of the road family entertainment for the kinds of families just to get a family in a theater and sit down and watch something for their kids.
Right. But
Yeah.
I really like Trolls World Tour because it
Yeah.
had a very like different, unique and style interpretation of like music genres. And here,
But this is what
not
DreamWorks
so
does.
much.
I mean, just look at the reaction to Kung Fu Panda 4. It's the reason why nobody's talking about it. It's because it
Mhm.
was very much down the middle, a sequel just for kind of a generic family audience. because they know that that'll bring people to the theaters, and
You get the family money, family
you get
dollars.
the family money.
One ticket is 4 tickets.
They've been doing this since Trek. I mean, Trek 3 and 4 are basically just like, let's just keep churning this machine.
Yep.
And that's just the approach. And so, yeah, I get it. Like, yeah, it's disappointing, especially if you thought that there was something to the franchise before this, that then now it just seems to be just a play, just to get more money.
It definitely felt like it.
Yeah, it's sad. Any other movies this week, or is that it?
That is it. That's all that I watched.
Same. So with that means that we are done with the movie section, and that wraps up this week's edition of the Media Boat Podcast. So thank y'all for tuning in and listening. We'll be back next week for another episode where we'll have even more to talk about, more updates for y'all. So stay tuned for that. We will be returning to our Tuesday schedule. So that means we will not hear from you, or you will not hear from us on the regular show until Tuesday. Tuesday the Tuesday the 9th. Tuesday, April 9th will be the next show for y'all. So tune in then. If you want to know how to catch the show, you can watch us on our YouTube channel. That's youtube.com and search Media Boat Podcast, or just Media Boat, and we'll probably pop up. You can find us on podcast services in audio form, such as Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify. Just search Media Boat and you'll find our show on any podcatcher that you listen to. You can also find us on the web, mediaboatpodcast.com. You can also find us on twitch.tv, occasionally playing video games such as Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Twitch.tv/mediaboat is that address. You can also find us on social media platforms like Twitter/X, where we're at MediaBoatCast, Blue Sky, just search MediaBoat and you'll find us, and Facebook, maybe even. You can just search MediaBoat. You can find a page there. But last but definitely not least, if you have questions, comments, feedback about the show, you can email us at mediaboatpodcast@gmail.com. And the last plug I will do is, yes, it is the last day of March. And at the top of the show, we mentioned that we are still working on our March Madness bracket. This year, we are tackling the Best Picture winners from the last 16 years. You can catch the finale of that later today. So check our YouTube channel later today for the final winners. The winner, if you will, of our bracket will be announced today. The best picture of the last 16 years. And Mike will be joining me for that one. So tune in to see us both hash out the semis and the finals of that tournament bracket to wrap up March Madness for 2024. So that will be on YouTube. So search YouTube for Media Boat Podcast. You can find us. With that, we will see y'all next time.
We'll be back with more news, more thoughts. The ending of Physical 100, as well as the start of the new season of Loot. We'll talk about next time.
Loot.
All right. Bye.
All right. See you guys next time. Bye.